Well, this is another early one for us. It's Thursday, the day after the Matildas lost their game, unfortunately. But never mind. We're just leaving Middle Percy Island. It was a very rolly night. It wasn't so much rolly, but we were pitching quite a bit. There was another half a dozen Rivieras in there, which were doing it a lot harder than us, thanks to our stabilisers. But never mind, we're heading off down. It's a fairly long day today, so we've got up with tides just changed, so we're going to hitch a ride with the tide, hopefully, and head on down to, where are we going? Cape Upstart, not Cape Upstart, Port Clinton, yes, and catch up with some people that we know that are heading north. So hopefully we've got about 50 nautical mile to go, so it's going to be at least a 10-hour day, so that hence getting away at first light. I'll take you out and show you a bit of first light. There's Kylie.
Not first light.
And you can just make out the Rivieras that were in the bay with us last night. And the sun is starting to come up. And as you can see, it's a bit rolly, a bit of a swell coming in. But we'll be turning shortly and running with that swell, so it should be a lot better for us. All right, well, I'll give you an update a bit further later in the morning. Cheers. Well, we're about halfway to Island Head Creek from the Percy group. Let's give you a bit of a look at where we are. It's where we started, Middle Percy. It's where we are now. And that's where we're heading to Island Head Creek. Conditions are good. We've got about 10 knots, I suppose, from the north, which we're sort of following. We've got a bit of swell, as you can see, coming on our port stern. Seen whales, I think we've been counting them today, and I think we're up around the 19 mark. I haven't seen any in a little while now. Starting to go a little bit, get a bit of cabin fever, so we've decided the lures aren't any good for fishing, so we thought we'd amuse the cat. And she's had a bit of fun with this one, but she's all tired out now. Kylie's downstairs preparing our brunch, which I think is just going to be a basic sausage sandwich, to tell you the truth. Well, as soon as I say that, there's a whale jumping out over there on the right. Big one too. And our buddy boat is over there, Kalula Cat. Must have a lure out too, or throwing a lure, but I'm not expecting to do any good. Never have done so far. So. But anyway, we'll keep you updated as we get closer to Island Head Creek. Well, we're into our 6th hour of our journey from Percy Islands to Townend Island, or Island Head Creek.
Got on more glasses.
The conditions or the wind conditions have picked up a bit. We've got about 10 to 15 knots now coming in from the north, and which is behind us, which is nice. We're in a following sea. Got about half a metre, 3/4 of a metre of swell, but we're running with that. Our pace boat, Kalula Cat, off our starboard bow has pulled out a sail and I think she's turned the motors off because we're starting to catch her now. She was getting away from us. But quite pleasant conditions just the same. I'll give you a bit of a look. Hope you can see you're actually going through the windscreen here at the moment. We've given up counting whales. Well, there was one just on the horizon in front of you there, just jumped out of the water. I think we stopped at about 22 whales. We just had a great tail slapping exhibition about 2 kilometres off our stern, which was nice to watch. We had a few dolphins off the bow, which was great, haven't had that before that we'd known about anyway. It was just by chance I was walking around the bow and saw them, and yeah, it was a bit of exciting. Anyway, so Town End Creek, or Island Head Creek at least, is about about 30 kilometres. It's about 10 kilometres in front of us. So a couple of hours yet, just going fairly slow, pacing it at our usual economical speed. Been dragging that lure behind us, I don't know why. But anyway, we have, it's quite an economical speed. I was doing the calculations last night. I think we've only used about 180 gallons, so 180 litres of fuel to do about 120 nautical miles, so I'm pretty happy with that. And we've got plenty of time on our hands, so we just keep moseying along like this. All right, well, I'll get back in touch with you again as we come up to the entrance to Island Head Creek. Captures some film of us coming into Island Head Creek, that's the entrance there. And quite frankly, it was fairly interesting coming into somewhere we've never entered before. And it was a fair bit of tide running. The tide's running out, which isn't a good thing coming into somewhere you don't know on a falling tide. And yeah, fortunately we had a boat in front of us, and we pretty much followed his breadcrumbs coming in. Thank you, Mr. Rain Marine, for all your technology.
And Kilroy Cat.
Yeah, and Kilroy Cat in front of us. But it's been looks like a great little spot. We're in about 7 metres of water at the moment. Nice sandy beaches, yeah. So we hope to spend a couple of days here. There's supposed to be one of our associates from Brisbane here, but who knows? I can't see him. We haven't got any internet at the moment till we get the Starlink fired up, and then we may be able to track him down on AIS. But we'll go up here a little bit. Last time he was here, we was right down the very bottom of the creek. So we'll follow down a fair way and see what we can find. I might put you on slow-mo and we'll get something from there. We finally arrived at our anchorage at Island Head Creek, and we've met up with some friends of ours who are travelling from the Brisbane Moreton Bay area up to the Whitsundays where we've just come from, so we're catching up with them for a couple of days here. The weather's turned a little bit ordinary, I suppose would be a good adjective to use, but it's picking up around 15 to 20 knots, so it dissipates again on Tuesday, so we'll probably head out of here on Tuesday. It's Yeah, yeah. So we're going to head south. These guys are heading north. We've got Murray here in his boat. Behind that we've got Andy, and up there we've got Mark. We did have Ross here yesterday also, and but he's had some electrical issues, so he's headed off to Mackay this morning. Much bigger boat, but he's rung to say he's not having much fun. We have had a couple of crab pots out down the creek here, but haven't had much good there at all. I think there's professional crabbers working in here, and they've seemed to have cleared the place out. But never mind, there's other things to do like video editing and drinking beer. So we're going to carry on doing that. So I'll catch you up in a couple of days when we're getting ready to leave. Well, it's Monday the 21st of August, and we're still here at Island Head Creek, which is, we're actually the last ones here, although I do think Paul on Rumba is down the southern neck of the creek. But everyone else has left. Ross left on Saturday, I think it was, or yeah, Saturday. And Murray left at 6 a.m. this morning, and Andy's just left now. So we're going to start heading off. We're going to head down to, where plan is, down to Pearl Bay, which isn't far from here, about 4 hours, or not even that, 2 hours away, and have a look there. We're having a little bit of an alarm coming up on our house battery voltage, so I want to stop there and we'll have a bit of a look at that and see what's going on there. And then we may head down to Yeppoon tomorrow, or through to Gladstone. And
Gladstone's better for me.
yeah, hopefully the weather's coming good next week to get out to Lady Musgrave, so we'll see if we can get this issue resolved on the batteries, which are all good now. Showing it's all good, but who knows. The chart wire coming out of this place, that's for sure. We're going to follow our old track that we made when we came in, and come out through the headland up here. And hopefully we've got enough tide. It's rising tide now, which is a good thing. But the other boys got out this morning, Murray and Andy, so we'll head out through that northern track, the passage up here, and be on our way to Pearl Bay. Well, we're heading straight into the sun. We're just coming out of Island Head Creek. We're following our track that we came in on, which is pretty close to these rocks, but we've got miles of water. We've got 30 odd metres here. Must be a fair bit of water coming in and out of this place. So yeah, conditions are about 15 knots easterly at the moment. I've never seen so many sailing boats with their sails up today, which is nice to see. We're heading south down that way. Southeast, I suppose it would be really, but down to Pearl Bay, and we'll see what conditions are like there, whether we stay there the day overnight and then head off down to Keppel Island tomorrow. We'll make that decision when we get to Pearl Bay. Well, we've just come out of Island Head Creek. That's the mouth of it there behind us. Pretty spectacular scenery. Conditions are as we expected it, fairly confused just here, with about a metre of swell bouncing off the rocks and coming back out. So we've got one swell coming in, one swell coming out. But we should clear that shortly. Pearl Bay is straight down that way, virtually see it, but I don't hold much hope of staying there. The night of conditions are like this down there. But you've got to enjoy this scenery. It's pretty cool. Haven't seen a whale yet, but no doubt that'll change. Pushing a fair bit of tide, down to 5 knots at 1500. A fair bit of water goes into that bay. Well, we're just outside of Pearl Bay and we've got a welcoming committee. I don't know why they do this, but he's waving at us. conditions have calmed down a little bit. We did have a metre of swell right on the beam, which is probably the ugliest place to have it. But we're tucked in behind a little island at the moment, and it's calmed right down. Oh, looks like the show's over. This is, we've gone about 4 or 5 nautical mile, and this will be the 4th whale we've seen.
Maybe.
Little one upside down, flapping his tail. Let's back the engine off a bit more. Stand by on the autopilot. Wow.
Upside down.
Rolling in the clover. It's got her in neutral. They're just coming into Pearl Bay, which is quite a pleasant sight. A lot better than that 1 metre swell that's out there at the moment. One other boat down there in the anchorage area. Probably won't be able to get in as shallow as he is, but we'll certainly aim for that area. Beautiful little bay. It's a shame the military blow it up in here every year, or every second year I think it is. Even the cat's up and about. Bin fell over on a swell. She's never smelt that before. Well, here we are at Pearl Bay. It's a magic spot. Have a look at this, white sandy beaches. One other boat here with us, just over there. Plenty of room for 2 of us. Probably plenty of room for 20. Just a magic spot. She's not doing too bad. I'll put the lead on her now. Much better over there where the catamaran is, I think. Cookie's trip to the beach. Never been in the dinghy before while it's moving. Be a figurehead cookie. We've just run up on the beach. The tide's coming in anyway. She meowing? How you going, Cook?
I'm not having fun, Dad. I've got a really big fat tail, and I'm not all happy about this. I have been thinking she would have bought some treats, wouldn't she?
I don't know. What an adventure. Oh, there's a thong. I bet it's the left one. Oh, right one.
I can't do it, Cook, 'cause I've got no shoes on. Oh, there's an unexploded ordnance.
You haven't been out in the bushes for a while, Cookie.
I fucking had mine, Dad.
Can't eat that grass. We've managed to get a nice early start, leaving Pearl Bay. Beautiful little spot. Catamaran following us out. He was in pretty late last night. And we're heading down to Great Keppel Island. So conditions are a bit unusual actually. Easterly to about 10 knots, so it was pretty wise. It was about 15 knots yesterday, and we had a good metre of swell. Swell appears to have dropped down to about half a metre at the moment anyway, so we'll see what the day brings. Easterly swell's horrible because it'll be right on our beam, and the boat rolls a fair bit with that. But anyway, we'll take what we're given and head down to Great Keppel Island, which we've never been to before. That'll be interesting. Oh, I just saw a whale jumping on the horizon out there. Thought it was a ship, but no, it's a whale. Which is probably why we don't travel at night. All right, well, I'll give you a bit of an update in a couple of hours. It's about a 6-hour run, maybe 7. Might bring the revs up a little bit today while we've got this good weather. We're about halfway to Keppel Island, Great Keppel Island, from Island Head Creek, or Coral, Pearl Bay we left today. Conditions haven't been too bad actually. It's a little bit rolly. Still got about, what have we got? 15 knots from the east, southeast, and yeah, moving on quite nicely, about 6.5 knots. We're pushing a bit of tide, but the tide seemed to go back to front up here, but never mind. But there's our conditions. It hasn't been too bad at all. Had a little bit of breakfast, some Vegemite on toast about half an hour ago. Passing Stockyard Point over here, and we've got about another 2.5, maybe 3 hours to Great Keppel Island. Just come back into phone service. We'll catch up on all the Facebook trends and maybe put up a couple of posts. But other than that, enjoying the trip. Could be a lot worse. Well, it's been a 7-hour run from Pearl Bay to Great Keppel, but what a lovely spot. I think this is the first time we've ever been able to see our anchor sitting on the bottom. The water's that clear. It's mad. And pretty popular spot. There's quite a few boats here, but it's not overly crowded. Certainly nowhere near as crowded as Early Beach. Obviously doing some work on the beach there at the moment, moving a bit of sand around. I've got some massive sandbags over in front of the cafe. obviously a bit of erosion problem. But it hasn't been a bad trip. We've got about 5 knots, 5 to 7 knots coming from the southeast at the moment, so we're reasonably protected here. I will put the floppers out just to stop us rocking and rolling. Yeah, Cookie's done a great job of the navigation and the captaincy today. So we're going to settle in. It might actually be time for an anchor beer. It's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. It was a 7-hour run, so yeah, great to be here. We're going to go into shore to check out the cafe. Unfortunately, it's not open tonight, but we might hang around for lunch tomorrow. I've been told the hamburgers are very good here, so we'll give them a shot. Well, here we are, our first day at Great Keppel Island. We had drinks last night with some friends from Cleveland, believe it or not. We had ended up dropping anchor right beside them, so that was totally unexpected. But what a gorgeous spot. There's the old resort in there, and we're at Fisherman's Beach. They're doing some beach restoration over there with the excavator, and we're going to go ashore and hopefully have one of their famous hamburgers. Beautiful. So you can actually see we're in about 3 metres of water. It's a bit after low tide, and you can actually see the bottom. If I take up the front, you can actually see the anchor hitting the bottom and going out in front of us, which is a bit unnerving at times. Not used to seeing that. Makes you double check to make sure you're in the right depth of water. But anyway, we're going to head ashore, and it's a beautiful day here at Great Keppel. I can't see any reason why we'd be moving from here at any pace in the foreseeable future. Well, all I can say is how good is this? How clear is that water? Great Keppel Island, Fisherman's Beach. It's beautiful. There's some great little beach shacks along the beach here. And there's a decommissioned resort there, and then the cafes and so forth are up that end, which we're heading up to now, and hopefully we'll find somewhere where we can settle in for lunch. We're thoroughly enjoying this walk along with the sand between our toes. Water temperature's a little bit cool, certainly doesn't say get in here and enjoy it, but it's definitely swimmable. Yep, there's the turtle way out the back. Probably look as though we're out a bit deep now because everyone around us left this morning. Might move in a bit closer today, but no real necessity to. Well, this looks like the spot. Best burgers around. What a wonderful spot. Great first impressions of this place. Very first flag I've got here says alcohol. Sucks everyone in. Oh, this is pretty cool. With a beer garden. How you going?
Good, thank you.
That's good. The Esplanade. Rainbow Hut. There's a good little walking track.
Yes.
Well, I might suggest we're in the right spot for a coffee, but Getting very close to the yard arm.
At least time for a margarita. Okay, we're cooking butter chicken today because John had a request. And so, you know, what the skipper wants, the skipper gets generally. So anyway, butter chicken, it's Thermomix one. It's skinny mixes. So Nick Riddle, cracking recipe, and I love it. I'll just show you what I've done so far. We have got the chicken marinating in the spice mix, and I have made the tomato sauce for it. Now, the bowl doesn't need to be washed between the next one. I'm actually going to leave the next part of that recipe, and it'll probably be another couple of hours because we're going up through the Narrows near Gladstone, and so I'm actually going to keep that aside. These will go in the fridge, and I'll leave this ready to go. We'll get up to the top of the Narrows about what time, John?
3 o'clock.
3 o'clock. So I'll put the rest of this on and finish that recipe at 3. Under here we've got Layla's garlic naan, because you can't have a good curry without a naan bread. So looking forward to this tonight actually, but it's a bit fiddly. There's 3 parts to this recipe. So the chicken that's marinating now in a spice mix, that spice mix can all go in the fridge. And I had another there's my spice mix. That's got cardamom pods, cardamom, cloves, star anise, cinnamon, paprika, cumin, all of that. All of that will go in to the chicken and that sauce mix when it's ready to go. But for now, we're going to leave that. I'll be rolling out the nanis soon, and I'll probably cook them early because, you know, I can. Dough is looking absolutely spectacular. So, we will see you a little bit later on. Okay, so we're back to the chicken. I have just put my onion and butter in there, cooking that now for 2 minutes. When that's done, I'll add the sauce and the chicken. And I'm trying not to make this too long, that's why I'm doing it in bits and pieces, because otherwise it just gets dead set bloody boring. See you back in a minute. Okay, now no one said this was a health food recipe. So there you go, 60 grams of butter. And the remainder of my spices, which is cardamom pods, paprika, chili, garam masala, cumin, all the rest of it in there with the onion. And that will now go on for, don't you wish you had a memory? That will go on for 5 minutes at 100 degrees reverse, because we do not want the little spices getting chopped up. And it's a spice lotto when you get this thing, to who actually gets to have the really delightful bits of cardamom, because they taste foul. Okay, so that's 4 minutes doing that. Then we add the gravy, then we add the chicken, and then we've got another 20 minutes and it's done. Simples. Okay, the sauce is now going in. That's the tomato gravy, which is a mix of spices and sauces. It's tomato, can of crushed tomatoes, tomato paste, and a whole pile of other sauces, spices, etc. And that will get cooked for 4 or 5 minutes on 100 degrees, just to let it all meld in. And then we will put the chicken in. Takes forever, this bloody recipe, but geez, it's good. Okay, now in goes our marinating chicken, which has been marinating for a few hours. It doesn't actually need to. The recipe says 20 minutes, but we were in transit, so I figured 2 hours would be fine. I will give it a bit of a stir through the gravy in there so it's all covered. And then that just gets cooked on 100 degrees, slowest speed, for about 12 minutes. So 12 minutes, 100 degrees, 100, slowest speed, reverse on. So that slowest spoon is the slowest speed. And that will cook now for 12 minutes. And I'll come back in 12 minutes because then we need to add other stuff to it. I just give it a stir every now and then so that chicken doesn't get stuck around the stupid bloody whisker.
Righto, Kylie, what are we up to here?
We are cooking garlic naan to have with our curry. So this is from the Thermomama's book, Layla Rose. Simplest, easiest naan bread recipe in the world. Dough makes 8. I'm going to do 4 because that's really all we need for dinner. We have 2 of those each with our curry. And I might just freeze the rest of those in a container for later use. You can use them for bread rolls as well, I guess, because it's basically just a good yeast dough. I'll wait for that to bubble up on the side, then flip it. And we will have garlic naan. I would do spinach, garlic and cheese, but I don't have spinach and I'm too lazy to get the cheese out the freezer. And then when they're done, you just dredge them in butter because they're so bloody healthy. And I'll throw those in the oven until we're ready to eat tonight.
I'm ready to eat now.
Yeah, well, you're not. Silly Johnny. There is no dinner yet. Let me slather that side. And she does say slather in her little book. Thermomama Cooking with Layla Rose on Facebook, I think it is. I'll put it up anyway. You know me, I'll put the links up because God knows I can't cook for myself, but I follow a recipe really well. Well, sometimes I do. Right, roll one more out. Such a good roller. God, how I ever got a job in the kitchen, I'll never know. And in it goes. And that's
Make many pizzas out of
3
it.
that you could. You certainly could. It's not a, it's a fairly stiff dough. So what I'm going to do is put those in one of those blue. Okay, so the butter the butter chicken's cooked. I've had a couple of margaritas. The butter chicken has cooked. The rice is cooking in the rice cooker. The naan bread I cooked earlier is just reheating in the oven. And to prove I really can multitask, I've got a load of washing going on before we get into Gladstone tomorrow. And yo-ho, there's our sunset. So we're testing the max of the solar panels out at the moment. We're on 88% of our battery limit. The TV's going as well. So we're, you know.
And I'm happy.
John's happy. He's got happy hour. Not as happy as me. I had 3 margies. And that's our sunset from Graham Creek, just out of Gladstone. There's another cat there. It is dead calm and absolutely delightful. I will take you back into the kitchen, and when we have dished up this delightful delicacy of deliciousness, I'll show you what's on the table. Bye, kids. The finished product. Here we go. This is the finished product. It's a bit runnier than I would have normally made it, but because I couldn't be bothered. Thickening it with cashew nuts because they're not a necessity. I've never done it yet. Naan bread. Homemade yogurt with mint, lime and olive oil. Curry. And a nice bottle of red wine. Cheers, Johnny.
Thank you, darling.
Okay, let's hook into this because it looks really damn good.